Welcome to the Amplitude Studios EGX panel on the OpenDev method for developing Humankind. My name is Natasha, I'm the Communication Manager at Amplitude, and today I'm here with Romain de Aubert, who is the studio head and creative director, as well as William Dice, who is the lead designer on Humankind.
Hello.
A few weeks ago we wrapped up OpenDev, and today we'll be here to talk about some of the challenges and some of the things we learned. So first of all, Romain, can you tell us a little bit about Humankind?
Humankind is our dream project where we can actually play the full history of a civilization that we will create through combining a lot of cultures. So, for example, we could imagine, the history of our people being, first, Egyptians, then Greeks, and then Romans, then maybe French, and God knows what after. And yeah, it's huge. It's incredible. It spans through the whole history of humankind. And basically, taking a lot of what we learned in the past with our previous games, like in this Legend, for example, with the terrain, the battles, the economy. So it's basically 10 years of for extremes in one game.
Yes. Speaking of Amplitude's history, Amplitude has a history of working with the community to create games. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So for us, when we created Amplitude, there are two things we really wanted to work on with the community. One, because in the past we had some bad surprises after shipping a game, when we realized that some features where we spent so much time on nobody cared about, and some features that people didn't like that people could have fixed so easily. And when you find out, in a review, or you find out through your players complaining in the forums, and you could have fixed it. It is so it's so sad, basically. So that one of the first thing we said was never again. So you want to make sure, like when you ship, you exactly know what game you are shipping. And if there's a problem, at least you know about it. You can even tell your players, well, I'm aware of that. But don't worry, we'll improve it together. Later, and it could be really well accepted. So that was one element. The other element is, when we founded the company, we were, we've been in the industry for quite a bit already, but we never created a 4X, and that was also for us an occasion to gather around us a lot of players that actually were extremely knowledgeable about what is a 4X. So while we had the vision, they helped us to make it stronger and better all along the dev process.
Great. So why did you decide to go with OpenDev for Humankind, which we understand is something new? Where did the idea come from?
So the OpenDev, it comes through after like maybe 8 years of doing like early access. So we've done that in all our previous games. So from Endless Space, at the very beginning it was even called Play the Alpha. It wasn't not early access yet. It's through the process that it was called early access. So we always been very keen on doing that. But as we've done quite a few games with it, we realized that actually it's a process that maybe we could improve a bit. So because we work with early access and games together at the same time. So one element is simply that we often been overwhelmed by feedback from the players, and it was difficult for us to work both on this overwhelming feedback and finish the game. Because when you share the game as it is in early access, it's more or less the full game, and people just look at all over the place. So it was one of the elements. The other element is basically it's difficult to work with everyone around the game, to discover like bits of the game, to leave some suspense for everyone to see what else is coming with the game when you always share the full game. That was another part of to be a bit more playful, I think, with the community. So that was the other desire that we had with that. So now the good thing is with the OpenDev, we were able to create a few scenarios on first, the first elements we wanted to secure with the community, and in our case, some elements that were really at the heart of the game. That actually William worked a lot on the battle on one side, which was one of the huge feedback we got from Endless Legend, but also from the other projects we worked on, where our community were asking for a lot of improvements. So we wanted to make sure we had that right from the beginning with them. So we had first internal testing, a small group of tests also with some players, then friends and family, and then the rest of the players. So that was one part. The other one was the economy, because the economy is central to our game and it affects everything. So you don't want to fix that at the end. So that was that.
From the designer's perspective, I'd be interested in knowing what some of the advantages are to doing OpenDev.
Yes, I would say, and I guess this is just kind of going a bit more in depth into Roman's answer, is when you're making a 4X game, a playthrough is going to take many hours to complete, and so a lot of the feedback that you're going to get is going to be on the same few hours at the beginning of the game. And if you want to test things like the battles, or sort of economy that's fairly advanced, or diplomacy or something specific, you're going to have trouble getting those feedback from the community if it's just an early access. Whereas if you do something a bit more specifically focused, you can really have those features tested. So that's very useful for us. Getting clear feedback that's actionable. We can do something about it.
Yeah. And how did you decide which features you wanted to cover in the scenarios?
So as Roman said, I mean, the battles, it's something that I know with Endless Space 2 we were working on right up to the very end. Endless Legend we were working on right up to the very end. It's something that players often have a lot of feedback on, and it's definitely one of those kind of those clinches, a very important part of the game. So we really wanted to get it right. It's also something that we're really innovating with. We're trying some really new stuff for the battles in Humankind. So definitely battles we wanted to test. And for the economy as well, we've got some interesting stuff going on in terms of territory management, so how you claim territory, how you incorporate it into your city's territories. That's all very new. It's not something we've done before, so we really wanted to get some feedback on that to see what we could improve.
Absolutely. So what were some of the more challenging aspects of pulling off the OpenDev?
I think one thing is, for me at least, I was so afraid that people will think it is a demo of the game, and I think I've been really annoying with everyone on it to make sure no one could mistake it for a demo of the game. That's why we added all these movies of Jeff speaking all the time to explain what to expect, or often like text to make sure that people understood. So that I think for me that was the biggest challenge, was to make sure that people knew what to expect.
And just to be clear, what exactly are the differences between OpenDev and a demo?
So I think the primary goal of a demo is it should make you want to buy the game, right? So you have to make sure that whatever people will see, whenever they finish the demo, they say, okay, where do I buy the game? Which is not the case for us. It's not the goal of that. And so, for example, there could be elements in it that could be disappointing for a player, and that's all right, as long as we learn about it, so we can fix it and improve it. So whatever they see actually is not final, it's still being worked on. A demo should be really representative of the final game, which is again not the case here. So that's why it was very important people understood that it's not final. It's the goal is not to sell the game.
Okay. Sorry.
I was going to say from a more I suppose nuts and bolts point of view, in terms of the difficulties that were presented by this, we're specialists when it comes to designing procedural generation systems for creating worlds, galaxies, and so on. In terms of static level design, creating scenarios where everything is set up in advance, it's not something that the design team has done a huge amount of on past Amplitude games. So that's been quite an interesting learning experience. Building the scenario creation tools as well. It's all been very, very interesting. And the questions, coming up with the right questions, asking them in the right way so that you're not forcing people down a specific path, so the feedback that you get is really good. A lot of things are iterated on a huge amount. And of course, to kind of reconnect with the question of demo, what sort of difficulty do you want to have for this kind of thing? You don't want to make it too hard, but you also want to challenge people a little bit so that they feel that they're really testing the mechanics, the specific, if they don't need to leverage all the game rules, then they're not testing them. So you need a certain degree of difficulty. All interesting problems that we had to solve.
Yeah, sounds difficult. And so what were some of the main points of feedback and improvement that came out of this from the community?
So we had a lot of, I guess you would call them user experience, user interface feedback. So things that were not very clear to people that we need to improve. And obviously we're conscious of a lot of these things, but it's very useful to know specifically what needs to be improved so that we can really focus our efforts on those things. So specifically some things in the battle in terms of reinforcements that we're looking into. So a lot of interesting feedback there.
Build queue on the
Yes.
on the city management part of it. It's quite a lot of, but there's been some good stuff actually coming, positive stuff that came as well, which to be honest I was not expecting, because again it's still under development, and with William and the rest of the team, we only see all day long the huge list of bugs that we have to fix, the huge list of improvements we have to do. So when you ask to share a portion of the game at that stage, when you look at the game, you just see everything that doesn't work.
Don't look at me! Don't look at me!
So it's definitely surprising, and was very, very, very good for them all actually to see how people reacted positively. So for example, on the first demo, we had only 0.2% of the players who didn't like the OpenDev. So I'm sure for many reasons, and was extremely surprising. I would have expected to see a much higher number than that. Of course, you could maybe say that if people came to try it out, maybe also it's because they loved 4X and historical 4X, so they were already more likely to enjoy it. But still, it felt really good, and realized that okay, so we probably are on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got the same feel from the community side of things as well. People were very enthusiastic about even having the chance first of all to try it out early on and be able to give us feedback, but they seem to really like the scenarios as well, although some found them difficult. So what are some of the changes you are implementing as a result of OpenDev?
So we've talked about territory management, how you attach territories to each other to create larger regions, and definitely the way that is presented to the player. There are some improvements we need to do there. Roman was talking about build queues. I was talking before about how reinforcements work. So we've got a lot of things that we're looking at improving in terms of really how things are presented, how the player interacts with them. There are a few balance points that were brought up that we're also working on, but I would say primarily it's to do with UX, UI.
Great. And so not everybody got the chance to participate in OpenDev this time around. So are there going to be future opportunities for folks in Humankind who want to be able to participate in OpenDev?
So we'll have many ways to try to get as much feedback as we can from the players. I'm not sure we'll have the OpenDev as it was again, especially because we have other aspects of the game to try out, to improve. So today there's nothing specific there, but we know we want to do more of that.
Right. Yes. Okay. And finally, what was some of your top takeaways from this whole experience?
I would say that the something I didn't mention previously, actually, that was brought up a huge amount by the players was in terms of the speed and efficiency of battle resolution. And again, this is one of those things that we're kind of conscious of and going, yeah, okay. Yeah. But you know, we have heard you. We're looking at ways to improve this. We're looking into how we can have different orders run in parallel at the same time. Things like instant resolution, higher animation speeds, things like that. So you know, your comments have been heard on that, and that's definitely something that I would take away.
No, it's funny about that one actually, because it was a lot of tricky work to do, and I think a lot of us were hoping that the players would not care about that part, but thank God, you know, so everyone agreed that we had to fix it. So it gives a little push that we needed to accept that, you know, it's a time well invested to improve that part. So and again, I think if we didn't have that OpenDev session, maybe we may have shipped the game, you know, with that kind of clumsy speed. And then again, after we would have seen your feedback after, maybe the reviews of the journalists saying the same as well. I would have been depressed. It just saved us. So no, it's good. No, and basically, I think the key takeaway is I don't think we can at Amplitude do it otherwise. We can't develop our games without having our players strongly involved before shipping the game, and we can't do it, and we don't want to do it as well. So for me, it's just more proof of that.
Okay, thank you very much. So, and thank you all for joining us, and also a big thank you to our community, of course, for participating in OpenDev. For those of you who want more information about the game, you can visit humankind.game, or you can follow us on all our socials at humankindgame. Thanks again, and have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.